The night I discovered my wife's betrayal, the world around me seemed to slow down, as if time itself wanted me to absorb every painful detail. It started like any other night. I was away on a business trip in Seattle, finalizing a major deal that would elevate my career. Mornings were filled with meetings, and evenings were spent reviewing contracts. Everything seemed perfect, but something gnawed at me. Megan, my wife, had been acting distant. She had always been affectionate, always eager to talk, but over the past few months, she had changed. The calls became shorter, her texts more generic. Busy with work, she would say. Tired from the gym. But something about her excuses felt off. A week before my trip, I had noticed something small yet disturbing. She had started dressing differently. Gone were the comfy sweaters and simple jeans. Instead, I found tight dresses and expensive lingerie in our laundry. I asked her about it once. She laughed. "I just want to feel sexy again," she said, kissing me on the cheek. I wanted to believe her. I really did. But doubt is a poison that spreads quietly, and it had already begun to eat away at me. That night, as I sat in my hotel room with a glass of whiskey, my phone buzzed. A message. It was from Martin, the private investigator I had hired before my trip. At first, I hesitated. My heart pounded in my chest as my thumb hovered over the screen. Then I read his words. "You need to see this. Check your email." My blood turned to ice. I placed my glass down and opened my laptop, my fingers trembling. Within seconds, I saw the email. The subject line was simple. "Megan tonight." I clicked it. What I saw made my stomach drop. The first picture showed Megan at an upscale bar in downtown Los Angeles. She looked stunning, her hair perfect, her makeup flawless. She wasn't alone. She was sitting next to Kyle, my best friend, the man who had been at my side since college. The second photo, her laughing, her hand resting on his thigh. The third, him whispering something in her ear and her biting her lip. The fourth, her leaning in, kissing him. A pit formed in my stomach. My head spun, but I kept scrolling. The next set of images was worse. Megan and Kyle weren't alone. Richard, my boss, was there too. And then the final photo, a grainy but undeniable image of all three of them leaving together, Megan's hand in Kyle's, her other hand gripping Richard's arm. I sat in silence, my entire world shattering around me. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't just a drunken lapse in judgment. This was betrayal, and I wasn't about to let it slide. For the next hour, I sat there, numb. I replayed every moment of our marriage, every moment she had smiled at me, every time she had said she loved me. It was all a lie. I could have called her. I could have screamed at her. But that would be too easy. She had planned this. She thought she had one. I wasn't going to let her walk away unscathed. With my hands steady, I picked up my phone and called Martin. "Where are they now?" I asked, my voice devoid of emotion. "They just checked into the Rosewood Hotel. Room 1203, he replied. "Can you get me a key?" There was a pause. "Are you sure you want to do this?" "I've never been more sure of anything in my life." Martin sighed. "Meet me at the lobby entrance in 20 minutes. I closed my laptop and exhaled slowly. My heart was no longer racing. My mind was no longer clouded with doubt or pain. Megan had just made the biggest mistake of her life, and I was about to make sure she paid for it. I arrived at the Rosewood Hotel exactly 20 minutes later, my heartbeat steady but my mind racing. The city lights flickered off the polished glass doors as I stepped inside, my eyes scanning the luxurious lobby. Everything about this place screamed exclusivity, a place where secrets were kept and desires indulged. It made perfect sense that Megan would choose this spot to betray me. Martin was waiting near the concierge desk, dressed in a dark suit, blending in with the crowd of businessmen and elite guests. He didn't say a word as he handed me the spare keycard. Our eyes met for a brief second, and I could tell he was hesitant about what I was about to do. "You don't have to do this," he muttered. I clenched the key in my palm. "Yes, I do." Without another word, I turned toward the elevators, stepping inside as the doors slid shut. I pressed the button for the 12th floor and leaned against the mirrored wall, staring at my reflection. My face was calm, but beneath the surface, a storm raged. Betrayal is a funny thing. It doesn't hit you all at once. It creeps up slowly, poisoning everything it touches. At first, you feel disbelief, then anger, then finally, a cold sense of purpose. The elevator chimed. The doors slid open. I stepped out into the hallway, the plush carpet absorbing the sound of my footsteps as I walked toward room 1203. The closer I got, the more I could hear. Muffled voices, laughter, the occasional clink of glasses. I reached the door. I didn't knock. I didn't hesitate. I slid the keycard in, heard the soft beep, and pushed the door open. The room was dimly lit, the heavy scent of expensive perfume mixed with alcohol lingering in the air. For a moment, nobody noticed me. Megan was sitting on the edge of the king-sized bed, wearing nothing but a silk robe, her legs crossed. Kyle was next to her, shirtless, a bottle of whiskey in his hand. Richard stood by the window, rolling up the sleeves of his dress shirt, smirking at something Kyle had just said. Then they saw me. Silence fell over the room like a crashing wave. Megan's smile vanished, her eyes widening in shock. Eric? Kyle sat up straight, his grip tightening around the bottle. Shit. Richard exhaled through his nose, shaking his head slightly. Well, this is awkward. I took a slow step inside, closing the door behind me. I wasn't here to yell. I wasn't here to fight. I was here to watch them squirm. Megan swallowed hard, forcing a nervous laugh. Baby, it's not what you think. I tilted my head. It's not. She stood up, taking a step toward me, her robe slipping slightly from her shoulder. I can explain. I pulled my phone from my pocket and held up the screen. The video played on loop, her kissing Kyle at the bar, her laughing with Richard, the three of them walking into this very hotel. Her face drained of color. Kyle swore under his breath, running a hand through his hair. Richard? He just chuckled, shaking his head. Guess we got caught. Megan turned to him in panic. This isn't funny, Richard. I stayed silent for a moment, letting them drown in the weight of their own choices. Then, with deliberate calmness, I placed my phone on the bedside table and pulled out a small USB drive. What's that? Kyle asked, his voice uneasy. I met his gaze. This is every text message, every email, every recorded call between Megan and the two of you. Richard's smirk disappeared. Megan took another step back. Eric, please. I cut her off. I've already sent copies to HR at your company, Megan. And Richard, you might want to check your inbox. I believe the board of directors will be interested to see how you spend your late nights. Panic flashed in their eyes. Kyle shot up from the bed. You wouldn't. I laughed, a cold, humorless sound. Oh, I already did. Megan grabbed my arm. Please, Eric. We can fix this. I looked down at her hand on mine, then back into her tear-filled eyes. I leaned in close, my voice a whisper. You already broke it. With that, I turned and walked out, leaving them in the ruins of their own making. I stepped out of the Rosewood Hotel into the cold night air, inhaling deeply as if I had just emerged from the depths of the ocean. The city buzzed around me, cars speeding by, neon signs flickering, people laughing as they stumbled out of bars. But I felt detached from it all, as if I were floating above reality, watching everything from a distance. I had done what I came to do. I had confronted them, delivered the first strike, and left them reeling. But this was just the beginning. I walked toward my car, my hands steady, my mind sharp. Megan had begged me to fix things, to give her another chance. The sheer audacity of her plea made me want to laugh. She hadn't regretted betraying me. She only regretted getting caught. And now, she was about to learn what real consequences looked like. As soon as I sat behind the wheel, my phone buzzed. I expected it to be Megan, but it wasn't. It was Martin. I answered on the first ring. It's done? He asked, his voice calm as ever. It's done, I confirmed. There was a pause. How did she react? Like a trapped animal. Scared. Desperate. I let out a slow breath. But that's not enough. Martin chuckled lightly. Didn't think it would be. I checked the time. Midnight. My real work was just beginning. Are the documents ready? I asked. Sent to your lawyer an hour ago, Martin replied. She won't get a dime. No alimony, no settlement. Once the divorce is finalized, she'll be legally screwed. A sharp satisfaction cut through my chest. Megan had spent years living off the comfort of our marriage, enjoying the security I provided. Soon, that security would be gone. But financial ruin wasn't enough. I needed to dismantle every part of her life. She still doesn't know about the apartment, does she? I asked. Nope, Martin replied. She thinks it's still in both your names. She's in for a nasty surprise when she realizes the lease was transferred 2 weeks ago. I smirked. Megan loved that apartment. She had spent months decorating it, making it her perfect little sanctuary. And tomorrow, she would find out she was no longer welcome there. I started the engine and pulled out of the parking lot. And her job? There was a pause, and then Martin spoke carefully. HR received the evidence. They'll process everything in the morning, but let's be real. After what you sent them, there's no way she's keeping her position. Good. Megan worked in corporate PR, where reputation was everything. A scandal like this? Sleeping with a senior executive while being married? That would bury her. She had no idea what was coming. I arrived home to a quiet, empty house. It felt different now, like a place that no longer belonged to her. I locked the door behind me, took off my jacket, and poured myself a drink. The weight on my chest had lifted slightly, but I wasn't done yet. I had one last move to make before I could sleep. I sat down at my desk, unlocked my laptop, and opened a private email account. The subject line was simple. Truth. The recipients? Megan's parents. Her brother. Her closest friends. Inside, I attached the same pictures and videos I had shown her at the hotel. I kept my message short, professional, devoid of any emotion. I thought you deserved to know the truth. I hit send. And just like that, Megan's world collapsed. The next morning, I woke to the sound of my phone buzzing incessantly on my nightstand. I glanced at the screen. 10 missed calls, all from Megan. My lips curled into a smirk. She must have checked her email. Stretching lazily, I ignored the calls and walked into the kitchen to make coffee. The house felt different now. Lighter, quieter, as if it had been purged of something toxic. Megan was no longer a part of my life, and with every passing second, I could feel the weight of her lies lifting off my shoulders. Another call. This time, I answered. I put the phone on speaker and took a sip of coffee. Good morning, Megan. Her voice was frantic. Eric, what the hell did you do? I leaned against the counter, amused by the panic lacing her words. Oh, you mean the email? I thought your family and friends deserved to know who you really are. You, she choked on her own words, struggling to contain her hysteria. You ruined my life. My mother won't even speak to me. My dad called me a disgrace. You had no right. I chuckled. No right? You threw away our marriage for a few cheap nights with Kyle and Richard, and you have the audacity to talk about rights? It was a mistake, she sobbed. I wasn't thinking. Please, we can fix this. There's nothing to fix, I interrupted, my voice cold. Check your inbox again. My lawyer sent over the divorce papers. No alimony, no settlement. You're walking away with nothing. Silence. Then a whisper. You can't do this to me. I already did. I hung up. A minute later, another message came in. This time from Martin. She just got fired. She tried to talk her way out of it, but HR showed her the evidence. Her career is done. I smiled to myself. Perfect. Megan had built her entire professional identity around her reputation, her charm, her ability to manipulate people. But PR is a brutal field, and scandals like this spread like wildfire. No respectable company would hire her now. She was officially unemployed. As I finished my coffee, my front door suddenly rattled from a loud pounding. Megan. I took my time walking to the door before unlocking it and pulling it open. She stood there, looking like a mess. Her hair disheveled, her makeup smeared, eyes swollen from crying. She was still wearing the same dress from last night, which only reinforced how pathetic she looked. Eric, please, she whimpered, stepping forward as if to touch me. I didn't move. Go home, Megan. Her lips quivered. I don't have a home. I just got a call from the leasing office. They said I'm not on the contract anymore. How could you do this? I folded my arms. Easy. I transferred the lease into my name weeks ago. I own everything in that apartment. You have nothing. Her face twisted in anger. You're a monster. I laughed, genuinely entertained. Says the woman who slept with my best friend and my boss at the same time? She flinched. Then, her expression changed. Desperation. I'll do anything, she pleaded. Just give me another chance. I tilted my head, pretending to consider her words. Anything? She nodded quickly. I leaned in, lowering my voice. Disappear. Megan's body trembled as fresh tears welled up in her eyes. She realized there was no way out of this. I stepped back inside and shut the door in her face. Her sobs echoed through the hallway, but I didn't care. Megan was finished, and I had one. Megan didn't leave immediately. She stood outside my door for a long time, sobbing, pleading, whispering my name like a ghost begging for a second life. I ignored her. Eventually, the cries faded, the footsteps retreated, and I was alone again. I should have felt triumphant. She was jobless, homeless, and stripped of everything she had taken for granted. But deep inside, something still burned, a sense that I wasn't finished. Revenge isn't just about taking things away. It's about making them suffer. The next morning, I met Martin at a small coffee shop downtown. He was already seated at a table by the window, sipping his black coffee, his eyes scanning the street like a hunter waiting for prey. Morning, I said, sitting across from him. You sleep well? He asked. I smirked. Like a baby. Martin nodded approvingly, setting his coffee down. Then you'll love what I have for you next. He slid a folder across the table. I flipped it open and immediately felt my blood turn cold. Inside were bank statements. Not mine, Megan's. Or at least, what used to be hers. I scanned the pages, my eyes locking onto one number after another. Large transactions. Hidden accounts. Tens of thousands of dollars withdrawn over the last year. What the hell is this? I muttered. Martin leaned forward, lowering his voice. She's been siphoning money from your joint accounts. Slowly, methodically, sending it to offshore accounts under a fake name. I clenched my jaw. So, this was her backup plan. She had been preparing to leave me long before I found out about the affair. The lies, the secrecy, the sudden need for space. It wasn't just about cheating. She was building an escape route, a golden parachute. Except now, it was gone. I looked up at Martin. Where's the money now? He grinned. Frozen. I exhaled slowly, closing the folder. She had played the long game, but I had beaten her at it. Then another thought hit me. Where did she think she was going with all this? Martin's grin widened. That's the best part. He pulled out a single photograph and placed it on the table. It was a picture of Kyle and Megan at a real estate office, holding a contract. Son of a bitch, I whispered. Martin tapped the photo. She was buying a house. With him. The anger that surged through me this time was different. It wasn't the raw, fiery rage of betrayal. It was cold, calculated, absolute. I had thought I had one. But this changed everything. Megan never planned to stay with me. She never wanted to fix our marriage. She had been waiting for the perfect moment to leave, to gut me financially and walk away with my best friend. She just never expected to get caught before she could execute the plan. I sat back, running a hand through my hair. Does she know the money's frozen? Not yet, Martin said. She will soon. I nodded. Good. Let's make sure she finds out the hard way. I pulled out my phone and sent a single text message. Me? Where are you? We need to talk. The reply came within seconds. Megan. Oh my God, Eric. Thank you. I knew you'd come to your senses. Where are you? I smirked. She really thought she could still win. Me. Meet me at our apartment in 1 hour. She sent a flurry of heart emojis. Pathetic. Martin chuckled. What's the plan? I finished my coffee, stood up, and slid the folder back to him. I'm going to watch her break. And then, I'm going to destroy what little hope she has left. I walked out of the cafe, ready to end this once and for all. I arrived at the apartment early, standing in the living room that no longer belonged to her. Megan thought she was coming home, that there was still something left to salvage. But this wasn't a reunion. This was an execution. She had stolen from me, lied to me, humiliated me, and worst of all, she had planned to replace me. The thought made my hands tighten into fists. The anger wasn't impulsive anymore. It was controlled, sharpened into something deadly. The door handle rattled. Then, a knock. I took a deep breath and walked toward the door, opening it slowly. Megan stood there, looking up at me with wide, hopeful eyes, her face still blotchy from crying earlier. She had changed clothes, trying to look composed, as if this was just a misunderstanding between lovers. "Eric," she breathed, stepping forward, but I didn't move. Instead, I leaned against the doorframe, crossing my arms. "Come in." She hesitated, surprised by my calm tone, but she stepped inside anyway. Her eyes flickered across the room, as if expecting to see her things still in place. But the apartment was bare. No clothes, no photos of us. Nothing of hers remained. Her expression faltered. Where is everything?" I shut the door behind her. "Gone." She turned to face me fully. "What do you mean, gone?" I stepped closer, my voice even. "I mean, Megan, you don't live here anymore." Her breathing quickened. "Eric, I thought." "You thought what?" I cut in. "That I'd forgive you? That I'd let you slither your way out of this?" She swallowed hard. "I just wanted us to talk." I let out a humorless laugh. "Talk? Megan, you didn't just cheat. You stole from me. You planned to take everything and run off with Kyle." Her face paled. "Yeah," I continued, watching the fear creep in. "I know about the house. I know about the money. I know everything." Megan shook her head violently. "No, Eric, that's not true. I wasn't leaving you for him. It wasn't like that." I smirked. "Really? Then tell me, Megan, how are you planning to explain the new house you and Kyle were signing for?" Her lips parted, but no words came. I leaned closer, lowering my voice. "You were going to gut me financially, make me think I was the bad guy while you and my best friend walked away with everything I built." Tears welled in her eyes. "I made a mistake." I scoffed. "No, Megan. A mistake is forgetting an anniversary. A mistake is one bad choice. What you did, that was premeditated." She suddenly fell to her knees, grabbing my hands. "Please, Eric, don't do this. We can fix it. I don't love Kyle. I love you." I yanked my hands away, disgusted. "You love me?" I repeated, my voice dripping with sarcasm. "That's funny, because I have text messages that say otherwise." I pulled out my phone and scrolled down, reading her own words aloud. "Eric is weak. He'll never see it coming. By the time he realizes, we'll be gone." She gasped. "That's not. I never really loved him. He was just safe. You make me feel alive." I looked down at her. "Say that again, Megan. Tell me you love me." She broke into sobs, shaking her head in disbelief. "Please, Eric, don't do this to me." I exhaled slowly, savoring the moment. "This isn't me doing anything to you, Megan." I stepped back toward the door. "This is you finally facing the consequences of your own choices." I opened the door wide. "Get out." She stared up at me, her lips trembling. "I have nowhere to go." I nodded. "That's not my problem." For a long moment, she just sat there, as if hoping I'd change my mind, as if the pathetic, desperate act would make me forget everything. But I didn't. Without another word, she rose shakily to her feet and walked toward the door, stopping just before stepping outside. She turned to look at me one last time. "You'll regret this." I tilted my head. "I doubt that." And with that, I shut the door in her face. Megan was gone. For the first time in weeks, my home felt like mine again. No more lies, no more betrayal, no more pretending that everything was fine. I locked the door behind her and stood in silence, listening to my own breathing. This should have been the end, but I knew Megan too well. She wasn't finished yet. The next morning, I received a call from Martin. "She's staying at a motel on the east side of town," he said. "Checked in late last night. Paid in cash." I smirked. "Good. That means she's running out of options." Martin sighed. "She made a call to Kyle this morning. Sounded desperate." "Let me guess," I said, already knowing the answer. He didn't pick up. Bingo. Kyle had already begun distancing himself the moment everything went public. He had a wife, a career, and a reputation to protect. Sleeping with his best friend's wife was one thing, but getting caught doing it? That was a career-ending move. I wasn't surprised. Snakes don't stick together when the fire gets too hot. She also tried calling Richard. Martin continued. Same story. Straight to voicemail. I laughed. Perfect. She dug her own grave, and now she's realizing no one is going to pull her out of it. But I also knew Megan wouldn't accept defeat that easily. She had one last card to play, and she was about to use it. That afternoon, I received an email from my lawyer. Subject: Urgent, Megan's counterclaim. I opened the message and scanned the contents. As I read, my hands tightened around my phone. She was trying to sue me for emotional distress. She had filed a claim stating that I had intentionally destroyed her reputation, humiliated her, and caused her irreparable mental anguish. Unbelievable. This woman had cheated, stolen from me, and plotted to leave me with nothing. And now? She wanted to play the victim. I called my lawyer immediately. Tell me you can shut this down. He chuckled. Eric, this is laughable. No judge is going to take this seriously. She's desperate, I muttered. She has nothing left. That's exactly why it won't work, he said. We have solid proof that she planned this betrayal long before you exposed her. The messages, the emails, the financial records. Her case won't hold up in court. I exhaled, my grip on the phone loosening. So she's just wasting her time? She's wasting everyone's time, he confirmed. And once the judge sees the evidence, she'll look even worse. I smirked. Then let's go all in. What do you have in mind? I want to countersue for fraud, I said. She was siphoning money from our accounts for over a year. That's theft. There was a pause. Then my lawyer let out a low whistle. Damn, you want to bury her. I want her to learn, I corrected. Actions have consequences. He chuckled. Consider it done. Megan had been so sure that she could manipulate me, twist the narrative, and walk away with something. But the game had changed, and she was losing. That night, I received a text from an unknown number. Megan, you think you've won? I stared at the message, my lips curling. Me, I know I have. 3 weeks had passed since Megan walked out of my apartment for the last time. At first, she tried to fight. She filed her ridiculous lawsuit, screamed to anyone who would listen that I was the monster in this story. But the truth has a way of crushing lies, and when the judge saw the evidence, it was over. Her lawsuit was dismissed immediately. Not only that, but my counterclaim for fraud was approved. She had stolen money from me, attempted to conceal it, and planned to build a new life behind my back. Now, she was legally obligated to pay me back every cent she took. But there was one problem. Megan had no money. She was drowning in debt, blacklisted in the corporate world, and had no place to go. Her fall from grace was complete. And yet, she still hadn't learned her lesson. Late one evening, as I sat in my office, my phone buzzed. I glanced at the screen. Unknown number. I already knew who it was. I let it ring for a moment before answering. Hello, Megan. There was silence on the other end. Then, a shaky breath. Eric, please. Her voice was different now. No longer arrogant, no longer manipulative. Just broken. I leaned back in my chair, savoring the moment. What do you want? She sniffled. I have nowhere to go. No job. No money. I lost everything. Please, can we just talk? I smirked. Talk? Now you want to talk? I know I hurt you, she whispered. I made mistakes. But her voice cracked. I can't live like this. I'm sleeping in my car. I have nothing, Eric. For a brief moment, I let the silence hang between us. Then I spoke, my voice cold and steady. You had everything, Megan. A husband who loved you. A home. A future. I exhaled slowly. And you threw it all away. Her sobs grew louder. I know. But if I could go back, I would. But you can't. She choked on a sob. Please, Eric. Just help me. One last time. I closed my eyes, letting the moment sink in. This was the same woman who had laughed behind my back, who had called me weak, who had planned to leave me penniless and alone. Now, she was begging me. I leaned forward. Megan? A pause. Why, yeah. I smiled. You deserve this. A sharp gasp. Then, silence. I hung up. That was the last time I ever heard from her. Weeks later, I heard from Martin that she had left town. Rumor was, she had tried reaching out to old friends, but no one wanted anything to do with her. Kyle? He was still with his wife, pretending none of this had ever happened. Richard? He had replaced her within days. Megan had burned every bridge, and now? She was truly alone. As for me, I was finally free, and I never looked back.